Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong. Our top stories tonight. Carrie Lam calls on people to take 3 self-administered COVID tests. New local COVID infections in Hong Kong drop below 5,000, but imported cases rise. And fighting rages in Ukraine amid hopes of safe passage for civilians from besieged Mariupol. Chief Executive Carrie Lam has urged the public to carry out self-administered tests on 3 days to give officials a clearer picture of the city's COVID situation. The exercise is voluntary and will not replace a planned citywide test. Macy Mock reports.
Anti-epidemic packs that are being handed out to the city's 3 million households starting today contain 20 rapid antigen test kits. Chief Executive Carrie Lam urged people to use the kits to test themselves next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday so that the government can get a clear picture of the infection rates. This will help to facilitate future anti-epidemic work. People who test positive should inform the government's reporting platform within 24 hours.
We are seeing a downward trend in the number of cases and the various indicators that we are monitoring, like the sewage test, but the absolute numbers are still high. Yesterday, it was close to 6,000 cases. So that suggests that we still have quite a number of silent transmissions in the community. So it will be to the benefit of all of us, to the community at large, to try to identify all these infected cases as soon as possible.
Lam added that the 3-day self-administered exercise is voluntary and will not replace a citywide test, which is still deemed as necessary to eliminate the spread of virus. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Government advisor David Hui has suggested that now is not the time for citywide COVID tests.
I think when the number of confirmed cases is coming down to 3-digit and yet not coming down, persistent at 3-digit, then we should consider the compulsory community testing, right? And if you can introduce the rapid antigen test as the first round to screen out the positive cases, that would facilitate the subsequent second round, perhaps using PCR.
Hui added that people need not be alarmed by 2 imported cases in February of a combination of Omicron strains BA1 and BA2. He said the 2 cases were detected and the strain did not spread into the community, adding that genome sequencing showed it was not the Omicron hybrid XE. Hui said the World Health Organization has suggested that the XE variant is not a cause of concern at this stage. He added the scientific committee will meet next week to discuss administering a 4th COVID dose, which could be given to elderly people first. New COVID cases in Hong Kong have dropped by more than 1,000 from yesterday, with under 5,000 infections recorded today. But there was a slight jump in imported cases following the lifting of a ban on flights from 9 countries yesterday, when Wong reports.
With 4,475 local cases today, Hong Kong's COVID tally continued to drop. But health authorities also reported 18 imported cases, which is a spike compared with the past several weeks. It comes after a ban on flights from 9 countries was scrapped, and vaccinated local residents were allowed to fly back from those places yesterday.
I think the increase in number of imported cases is expected because previously we have banned some countries from flying to Hong Kong. So all these imported cases will be isolated and treated.
4 of the infections came from Emirates flight EK384 from Bangkok, prompting the government to ban all of the airline's flights from the Thai capital and Dubai for the next 7 days. The hospital authority also recorded 99 COVID-related deaths from the past day. They included 3 men and a woman in their 40s and 50s. All of them had varying levels of cancer. or suspected cancer. Chuang, meanwhile, clarified statements she made yesterday on new variants. She said 2 incoming passengers found to be infected with the BA1 and BA2 subvariants in February did not belong to the widely reported XE variant discovered in Europe. I had misunderstood a report by the University of Hong Kong when I said those 2 cases were XE cases, she said. But she added that the 2 passengers were isolated and treated, and no similar cases have been found in Hong Kong since. Wong, HKIBC.
Volunteers have been helping to hand out the government's anti-epidemic kit. In Shamshui-Po, volunteers distributed the packs to buildings that do not have owners' corporations. Those who are not home at the time of delivery can collect their packs at 90 distribution points in all districts next week. Carrie Lam was among the officials and politicians who lent a helping hand. All kits will be distributed by next Friday. COVID cases on the mainland have continued to climb to new heights, with most of them in Shanghai. Virtually the entire city is now under strict movement control after entering the second phase of a lockdown. More than 14 million people in Puxi have already been tested, and more were screened today. Pudong district was supposed to have its lockdown lifted yesterday, but residents have been told to stay put. All areas there remain classified as either locked down or controlled. Shanghai reported 6,000 asymptomatic cases yesterday, along with 260 symptomatic ones. Experts believe the outbreak in the financial hub is bigger than the one in Wuhan 2 years ago. In other news, the heads of the Bar Association and the Law Society said the resignation of 2 senior British judges will have only a limited impact on the judiciary. Both said the city should continue to have overseas judges sitting in the Court of Final Appeal as non-permanent members. More from Macy Mock.
2 British Supreme Court judges, Robert Reid and Patrick Hodge, resigned as non-permanent judges in the Court of Final Appeal on Wednesday. They stepped down as the British government continued to lash out at the national security law. The heads of Hong Kong's 2 legal associations said the departure of Reid and Hodge will have a limited impact on the judiciary.
In the circumstances when all the other judges have confirmed that they are going to stay and that they are confident about the judicial independence and of our highest court, I believe the impact is at this stage limited.
Dawes and the president of the Law Society agreed that Hong Kong should continue to have overseas non-permanent judges.
The only test for me is whether the system is conducive to the rule of law in Hong Kong. And I truly believe this is beneficial to Hong Kong in terms of protection of human rights and liberty in Hong Kong.
Dawes added that the legal sector believes having non-permanent judges from overseas is important, as Hong Kong is an international dispute resolution center. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Carrie Lam says the chief executive election will be held as planned next month. But she admitted that it would be difficult for people interested in the job to interact with the 1,500-strong election committee because social distancing measures are still in place. The government will study how prospective candidates can undertake election-related work, such as canvassing the support of election committee members. The 2-week nomination period begins tomorrow. Lam reportedly discussed the election with Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office Director Xia Baolong yesterday, but she refused to confirm that she met Xia, saying she has commitments that need not be publicized. Overseas, there are fresh hopes that the evacuation of civilians from the southern Ukrainian port city of Mariupol can go ahead after several failed attempts. But in other parts of Ukraine, fighting has continued, with Russian troops reportedly planning new offensives as government forces try to push out the invaders. vowing to defend their homeland from Russia's offensive. Ukrainian forces have started to reclaim some territories in the north with counterattacks. Russian soldiers reportedly retreated from the strategic Hostomel military airport, which was a key gateway to Kyiv, the heart of the Ukrainian government. The Ukrainian army confirmed that Russian troops withdrew in certain areas, but fear that they're preparing fresh advances in the south and east. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned against complacency, saying hard battles lie ahead in the breakaway region of Donbass. Analysts believe Russian forces are trying to encircle Ukrainian troops there by advancing from Kharkiv to the north and Mariupol from the south. The Red Cross is trying to reach Mariupol after ongoing bombardment repeatedly foiled its attempts to send aid into the besieged port city. But hopes rose as a deal between Russian and Ukrainian peace negotiators to evacuate civilians is set to begin. Tens of thousands of residents have been trapped there for weeks amid allegations of forced deportations to Russian-controlled areas. The war has forced more than 10 million people in Ukraine to leave their homes and flee to nearby states or to other parts of their country. But the pace of the outflow has slowed down in the past week, with more Ukrainians returning from neighboring countries. Meanwhile, refugees fleeing war and persecution in other parts of the world have pleaded with the United States for more help.
I've been really taken away from my family, and I don't know where some of them are, but I can't do anything. There are a lot of Cameroonians in the United States, and some are still in detention, and some are still at the border. Needed. And on this,
who is staying with relatives in Ohio, urged U.S. authorities to grant all war refugees temporary protected status. This came as President Joe Biden offered to receive up to 100,000 Ukrainian refugees after Russia invaded their country. Tabas stopped short of criticizing Biden's welcome for Ukrainians, saying he felt very compassionate for those fleeing conflicts. Muslims around the world have begun observing the holy fasting month of Ramadan. Thousands of worshippers in Saudi Arabia prayed at the Kaaba in Islam's holiest city, Mecca. Over the next month, Muslims will fast from dawn to dusk, starting at sunrise. COVID has affected many activities, with several mosques observing social distancing measures. Ramadan ends with festivities for the world's 2 billion Muslims. American actor Will Smith has resigned from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences after causing a shock wave at last week's Oscars. He slapped comedian Chris Rock on stage before being named Best Actor moments later. Rock was hit after joking about Smith's wife, who suffered from hair loss due to alopecia. Smith vowed to fully accept the consequences of his shocking and inexcusable actions. By resigning, he will no longer be able to vote on Oscar-nominated films and performances, but his work will still be eligible for future contention. On to the weather now. Tomorrow will be cool in the morning, but fine and dry later. Temperatures will range between 14 and 21 degrees. A dry airstream will send the mercury climbing in the following days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Saturday night. Join us for more news at 11:30. I'm Sarah Wong. Please stay safe and take care.